You know, when you think about snacks in India, a few big names probably pop into your head, right? Lay's, Haldiram's, the usual suspects. But what if I told you there's a regional company, one you've likely never even heard of, that's built a secret empire, one that's just as massive? Well, this is the story of how a simple bag of potato wafers became an absolute powerhouse, all while staying almost completely under the radar.
So just how big are we talking? Get this, 5,010 crore rupees. And let's be clear, that's not some crazy valuation. That is their annual sales for last year. A number like that doesn't just put Balaji Wafers on the map, it puts them squarely in the big leagues. Now, to really wrap your head around that number, let's put it into perspective. Balaji's sales are in the exact same ballpark as Domino's Pizza in India. Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. A regional chip maker, operating in just a dozen states, is pulling in basically the same amount of money as one of the biggest fast food chains in the entire country.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question. How on earth did they do it? How does a company that's only focused on a handful of regions build a snack empire so powerful that even the global giants have tried to buy them out? Well, it turns out they have a playbook.
Their whole strategy really can be broken down into 3 simple but incredibly powerful rules. And this isn't some Silicon Valley move fast and break things mantra. No, this is something else entirely. So rule number 1 sounds simple, but you've got to understand it goes against pretty much every modern grow-at-all-costs instinct. Focus and dominate. While most companies are trying to be everywhere at once, spreading themselves super thin, Balaji did the exact opposite. They started in their home state, Gujarat, with just one goal: win it. Win it completely. And only after they became the undisputed leader there did they even think about expanding. They moved methodically, one neighboring state at a time. And the result of all that patience? In the markets where they actually operate, Balaji has an incredible 65% market share. They don't just compete, they basically own the shelf. Okay, so rule number 2. This is really the engine of their growth. Deliver unbeatable value. This is where they go head-to-head with the national brands, and believe me, they hit them hard.
And we're not talking about a small discount here or some weekend sale. Their entire business model is built to be 20 to 30% cheaper all the time. For the average, price-conscious Indian consumer, that's not just a nice little advantage, that's a total deal breaker. That's how you build loyalty every single time someone reaches for a snack. And finally, we've got rule number 3. Now this one, it's less about the numbers and way more about people. You could say it's the glue that holds this whole operation together. Build a foundation of trust. I mean, the founder himself said it best. Their real difference maker is the trust they have with their partners. For Balaji, the thousands of distributors and local shopkeepers, they aren't just cogs in a supply chain, they're treated like family. They figured out a long time ago that an army of loyal partners on the ground is way more powerful than any splashy, expensive ad campaign. So that's the playbook. Focus, value, and trust. But hey, does it actually work? Let's take a look and see how this strategy translates into cold, hard cash. Because the numbers tell a really fascinating story. Okay, you have to see this, because this is where the story gets absolutely wild. In 2022, Balaji's net profit was just 7 crore rupees. Okay, fine. But 1 year later, it exploded to 409 crore. No, that is not a typo. So what on earth happened? How is a comeback like that even possible? Well, the founder explains it perfectly. When the pandemic hit and all their costs doubled, they had a choice. They could raise their prices like pretty much everyone else, or they could take the hit themselves. They chose to absorb all of it, completely wiping out their own profits. Why would they do that? To keep their promise of value to their customers and to keep that bond of trust with their partners. It was a huge gamble, but man, did it pay off. Because when costs finally came back down, their profitability didn't just recover. It roared back stronger than ever before. And this efficiency, it isn't some one-time fluke. Just look at a key metric like return on equity, which is basically how good a company is at making money from the money it has. Balaji's ROE is an incredible 22.5%. That absolutely crushes Haldiram's, and it completely dwarfs a global giant like PepsiCo here in India. They are, quite simply, a more efficient, more profitable machine. Now, it's important to remember that Balaji's brilliant strategy didn't just happen in a vacuum. They were also riding a massive, massive wave.
So let's zoom out for a second and understand the incredible market they're playing in.
So just how big is this wave? According to a report from Frost & Sullivan, a whopping 63% of India's entire retail market is just one thing: food and groceries. That's the playground. It is the single biggest consumer category out there, which means the potential prize is absolutely enormous.
And inside that huge market, the specific slice that Balaji dominates, organized savory snacks, is on fire. It's projected to grow at nearly 12% every single year through 2027. So this isn't some mature, slow-moving industry. It is a high-growth rocket ship.
And this rocket ship is being fueled by a perfect storm of factors. You've got one of the world's youngest populations, they're earning more money, they're moving to cities, and they're all shifting towards the exact kind of convenient packaged foods that Balaji makes. So they weren't just smart, they were in the absolute right place at the perfect time.
So when you put it all together, from their unique strategy to this booming market, a really clear picture starts to emerge. It's the picture of a company that shows a very, very different path to building its empire.
You know, it really all comes down to two totally opposite philosophies. On one hand, you have that modern startup model we see everywhere: burn cash, expand at light speed, and chase that billion-dollar valuation. And then you have the Balaji way. It's patient, it's profitable, it's built on trust, not just on venture capital. It's this quiet but powerful reminder that there is another way to build an empire.
And that really leaves us with a final, thought-provoking question. In this current business world that just celebrates speed and disruption above all else, is it possible that the real, enduring blueprint for success looks a lot more like Balaji? You know, a patient, focused, and value-driven approach that builds an empire not in a flash, but one loyal customer at a time?